All right, hi everyone. So welcome to 3.3, or sorry, 3.13. And I'm trying to figure out where the camera should go, so hold on. Trying to navigate the camera. Okay, so today is very much a, I'm on page 101, in case you're wondering. And it is very much a continuation of deciding when to use multiplication or division, okay? I don't think there's any addition, subtraction, but if there is, we'll figure it out. So basically, we're gonna do pages 101 and 102 together, okay? It's probably gonna end up being 2 videos because usually YouTube only allows me to add 15 minutes at a time, okay? So let's get started. All right, so number 1. Hala can ride her bike 7.5 miles in an hour, okay? How far will she ride in 3 hours? How far will she ride in a third of an hour? So 3 hours, so we're gonna figure out, so if 1 hour, so if 1 hour is 7.5 miles, then what would be 3? So it's 7.5. So we could do repeat addition on this, and this would be, well, 7.5 plus 7.5 is 15 plus, sorry, 7 and, sorry guys, 7 and 1/2, 7 and 1/2. I was like, that looks weird. And plus another 7.5, which would give us 22 and 1/2. So we could do repeat addition. That is definitely something that we could do. Or I could do multiplication of 3 times 7 and 1/2, which would be 3 over 1 times 2 times 7 is 14 plus 1 is 15 over 2, which would be 15 times 3 is 45. So 45 over 2. Actually, seems like it's faster to do it that way, but okay. So 45 divided by 2, that's 2 times, that's 4. Bring down the 5, that's 2 times, that's 4. So it's 22.5. So the same answer that we got. So we could do it either one of those ways. We could just do repeat addition, which actually seemed faster, or I could multiply 3 times 1 times 7.5, turned into an improper fraction. So remember the improper fraction was 7 times 2 plus 1, which would be 15 over 2, equals 45 seconds, and then I divided to find my next mixed number. So I could do it that way. Either way works. I actually think in this case the repeat addition part was easier. So I could either do 7.5 plus 7.5 plus 7.5, which equals 15 plus 7.5, which equals 22.5, or I could have done 3 times 7 and 1/2, which equals 22.5. Okay, so then the next part, it wants to know how far we should ride in 1/3 of an hour. So at this time, we're gonna take 1/3. Sorry, 1/3 times 7.5, okay? And since we've already kind of done some of the work up here, I know that 1/3 times 15 over 2, 3 divided by 3 is 1, 15 divided by 3 is 5, so that's 5 halves, or 2 goes into 5 2 times with 1/2 left over. So in 1/3 of an hour, she will ride 22.5 miles. Yeah? Okay. So this one would be 1/3 times 7.5, which equals 1/3 times 15 over 2. I can cross cancel. That becomes 1. That becomes 5. So that's 5 seconds. And then that becomes equals 2 and 1/2. Clearly not nearly enough room to do this correctly. So definitely want to use some scratch paper on this one. Okay. Aaron's pet rabbit eats 1/12 pound of food every day. If Aaron buys rabbit food in 15 5-pound bags, how many days does one bag of rabbit food last? Okay, this is exactly like questions 2, 3, and 5 on page 97. So we're going to take that 5-pound bag and we're going to divide by 1/12. So remember, it's like taking the rice question where we scooped out 1/8 cups of rice. So that's what we're going to do. So that becomes 5/1 times 12/1. Like I've said, this is a really good time to spot check. Is the division now a multiplication sign? Is the 1/12 over? Yes. So I can proceed. And then 5 times 12 is 60/1, or 60 days. So she can feed her rabbit for 60 days. Okay. So this one was just like what we did yesterday. All right. Mr. Dayton uses 8 cups of flour to make 3 identical loaves of bread. How much flour is in each loaf? Okay. So this is a division question. And it's not really a fraction question because I have 8 cups of flour. So I could even draw it, 8 cups. And I'm going to eat in 3 identical loaves of bread. So I could even go like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then I'd have to separate those. So really, it's a division question and it's not really a fraction question because I could go 8 cups of flour divided by 3 loaves. So if I wanted to turn this into okay, so I could make it a fraction. There we go. So then it becomes 8/1 times 1/3, which equals 8/3. And 8 goes into 3 2 times with 2/3 left over. So 2/3 cup in each loaf. So on this case, and I could have just done a regular division problem. See, that's the thing. Sometimes I could have just done that. 3 goes into 8 2 times. That's 6 with 2 left over, so 2/3. So, but it's nice to see that division and multiplication of fractions are kind of the same thing. Okay, but I'm taking those 8 cups of flour and dividing it into 3 loaves. Kind of like when you make chocolate chip cookies and you have, I think it's 2.5 cups of flour into, what is it, 24 cookies is usually the standard recipe. Like I said, I like cookies. Okay. So now, okay. So like I said, it's not always going to be multiplication and division. Got to be careful because it seems like it should be, right? All right. Jonathan can throw a baseball 10 1/3 yards. His brother Joey can throw a baseball 13 1/2 yards. How much farther can Joey throw the ball? How much farther is a subtraction problem? So we're going to go 13 1/12 minus 10 1/3. Okay. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I can't do that upside down. So I'm going to do it over here. 13 1/2. Sorry, am I doing that right? Yeah, 13 1/12 minus 10 1/3. Okay. Well, I know the first number that I have in common is 12, so I'm just going to bring the 12 over. Equals 12, so that's 4/4. So that's 4/12. I can't obviously do that, so I have to borrow from the 13. This becomes 12, and I'm going to add 12/12. Now remember, it's okay if we have an improper fraction when we're subtracting. It's okay. 13 minus 4 is 9/12. Is that right? Yeah, that's right. And then 12 minus 2 is 2 9/12, or I can divide the top and bottom by 3 and get 3/4. So it's either 2 9/12 or 2 3/4. Same thing, just smaller denominator. Okay. So I had to borrow. I added the 12/12. Remember, we choose the same denominator so that we can not have to find common denominators again. I'm trying to work smarter, not harder. So it's 2 3/4 yards. They really didn't give us a ton of room for this, did they? Okay, and remember, with this video, you can pause and go back and rewatch anytime. Okay, Kim bought 3/8 pounds of sunflower seeds and 3/16 pounds of thistle seed for her bird feeder. How much bird seed did she buy in all? Key word right there, in all. That means we're adding it together. Yay! Addition of fractions. 3/8 plus 3/16. Okay. Now, I guess I do have the room to do this. So I know that I'm going to have to change 8 to 16 because that's the first number they have in common. So I have 3/8 times 2 over 2 equals 6/16 plus 3/16. So the answer is 9/16. 9 pound. Okay, and that's really, so all I did was I changed, I just brought this over here. Blurp, blurp. Okay. So there's that. All right, so number 6. Cassandra's fishbowl holds 9/10 gallon of water. It is now 2/3 full. How much water is in the bowl? Okay, another way of thinking about this is 2/3 of 9/10. So it's 2/3 of 9/10. And you could totally cross cancel. I'm going to cross cancel the obvious one. 3 times 3 is 1. 9 divided by 3 is 3. And 2 divided by 2 is 1. And 10 divided by 2 is 5. Those are fairly obvious ones. And you get 3/5 full. Okay. So it was basically 2/3 of 9/10. And so that's how we got it. Okay. And then I just cross-canceled both ways because, well, I could. And if I didn't want to cross-cancel, that's totally fine. I would have gotten 18/30. And I'm going to divide the top and bottom by 6 because that's the greatest common factor, and that would be 3/5. Sometimes it's easier to cross-cancel. Okay. So that's basically choosing. So we had some addition and some subtraction and then multiplication and division. Okay. So number 7. Marcus plays basketball for 9 hours each week. His friend Luis spends 5/6 as much time playing basketball. Who plays more basketball? Okay, so they want us to predict and solve. So who plays more basketball? Well, Marcus plays 9. So it's going to be Marcus compared to his friend Luis. And Luis spends 5/6 as much time. So is Luis greater than or less than 9 hours if he is 5/6 of that amount? Well, because I'm multiplying 5/6 times 9 over 1, am I multiplying 9 by 6 over 6 or 1? No, I'm not. 5/6 is less than 1. And because I'm multiplying less than 1, my answer is going to be less than. So Marcus spends more time. Marcus spends more time. Okay, and I know that because Luis is not 6/6 of 9. So how much time does Luis spend playing basketball? Okay, well 5/6 times 9 over 1. There is a way to cross cancel it, but I won't bore you with it. So I've got 45 over 6. 6 goes into 45 8 times with 3/6 or 1/2 left over. So our answer is 8 3/6 or 8 1/2. Okay. Which would make sense because he does less than. Not too much less than, but less enough, right? Okay. Stacy's long jump was 10 feet. That is 6 foot longer than Ron's long jump. Did Ron jump more or less than 10 feet? Well, if Stacy jumped 10 feet, and that was 6 longer than Rob's long jump, then clearly Stacy jumped longer. She jumped 10 feet. He didn't jump 10 feet. He jumped, what, 9 1/6 foot? Because if it was the same, if she jumped 10 feet and he jumped 10 feet, they would have said it was the same amount Rob did, but it's not. So we know that he jumped less. Oh no, my pen is losing ink. Oh no, I had to switch blues. I don't want to switch blues. That's not what I wanted. Okay. How long was Ron's jump? Okay. Well, you know how I talked about sometimes we can do this in our head? Well, so we've got 10 minus 5/6. Okay. So we need to change this into, so we've got 9 6/6 minus 5/6. Because I just rearranged it. Actually, what I did is I took the 10 and I borrowed for a whole 1. And then so 6/6 minus 5/6 is 9 1/6 feet. And really what I did is I subtracted. So I did 10 into 9 6/6 feet, which is the same amount. Okay, so this is part 1 of this lesson. Now I'm going to stop the video, and so it'll upload. So go to video number 2 to talk about the next page. All right, guys.